Welcome, fans, to a special episode of Rangers Ed. This is the round one preview. This is your host, Cousin Ed. I'm here joined by my co-host, Coach Ed and Little Ed. And our guest tonight is Nicky Blogs from the Broadway Breakdown blog. He just dropped a season series preview with the Knicks. So if you like basketball, check that out. I got to say, Nicky, your baseball blogs are great. I've been loving it, especially the Subway Beat. It's just a great time to be a New York sports fan right now. You got the Yankees winning, the Mets winning, the Rangers are in the playoffs, the Islanders are in the playoffs, the Knicks are in the playoffs. So we just need a little football luck, I think, and then your blog will be taken off.
Yeah, I mean, as football luck, we can include the Jets' new jerseys. They look good. They got the fashion part right. They just got to get the playing part down.
Yeah, that's not going to
happen. Probably not, no. But it's a good time for sure right now, and most of all, to be a Ranger fan.
Yeah, for sure, and that's what we're here for, to talk Rangers Capitals. So we know our round one opponent is going to be the Washington Capitals, and I think we already got a video mailbag from our boy Gaza. Is Gaza here? I don't know if he's here yet.
Gaza's in.
Gaza's in. So why don't we start off with Gaza? Let's go Rangers, Gaza. I like that. Let's start with his video mailbag.
You're going to have to give me a few minutes. I got to bring that up.
No, you got to tee it up. Well, yeah, look, I mean, the Capitals – no, that's all right. The Capitals –
First time live.
Everyone's talking about the Capitals' goal differential this year. Was it minus 38 to finish the season? I think it's the worst goal differential of any team to make the playoffs since like 1991. Nicky, I mean, how much does that matter to you when you're analyzing the series? Is that you just wipe the slate clean, or do you think that's indicative over 82 games of, what we should expect?
I think it says more about, the caliber of team.
Hi guys, it's me again from Birmingham, England once again. And for once, it's nice and sunny outside. But my question for you guys is, who needs to improve their game for the playoffs? Because they haven't had the best of regular seasons. And of course, Heatle is probably back, if we're lucky. But anyway, I digress. Now, Cousin Ed, you have seen, obviously, this stack of my sneaker collection. That's not all of it, by the way, but I'm going to show you another collection that is even larger than this. And no, I don't mean my jersey collection, because I'd have to take a few hours for that. I'll show you the other collection in my home. I'm not kidding. That is most of my hat collection. So many of them, isn't there? And that's not all of them again. I still have some hidden away in this room. So guys, I'll bid you farewell. And one other thing, the New Jersey Devils are useless. The New York Islanders are useless. And the Buffalo Sabres, well, they're about as hopeful as a chocolate teapot. I'll see you another time.
Wow. So, sorry, Nick, the video interrupted you. We'll get back to that in a second. I think we should address Gaza's mailbag. So,
absolutely.
What player, who needs to step up in the playoffs? Coach Ed, we're going to go to you to answer Gaza's question first. Who needs to step up for the Rangers?
I didn't get Gaza's mailbag video, so just give me what it says again.
Yeah, who needs to step up in the playoffs? What player or entity, I guess, needs to step up for the Rangers to win the series?
I'll go with an entity, like I've been saying in the last couple of, week or so, 2 weeks, is we need the top two lines to be what they are, neutralize the other team's top two. I think it's going to be the bottom. I'm going to go with the third line's got to play really strong. Got to put some pucks in the net. That's going to be a key difference throughout the playoffs. And that's no secret. I'm not inventing that. That's it throughout history. And I think that's what we need to do. They showed signs of that the last couple of weeks. I think that's going to be key.
Yeah, Little Ed, do you agree with that?
Yeah, we got a comment from my lovely girlfriend. I think she has an idea of who I'm going to pick. So, yeah, Keandre Miller for sure has to step it up. I think that's the obvious pick. We've been kind of hard on him recently, but the last couple of games he's been playing well with the new pairing. I guess the last game, was it 1 or 2 games, either way. So I have hopes for him to step it up and play well, but we really need that physicality from him. You know, I mean, he gets away with it a little bit in the regular season. I mean, maybe not on the Rangers Ed podcast, but in general, he gets away with it. But he's really going to get exposed in the playoffs if he doesn't take care of business a little bit. You know, so I would have to go with him, and just overall the defense in general. Just have to bring that toughness, that grit behind the net, punish guys in front. You know, just play that playoff style hockey.
Yeah,
I mean, I
Nicky.
agree with you, Ed. I think I watched that highlight reel on NHL before our boy Johnny Laz came on, and they just showed you about 5 hits in a row with the Rangers defensive guys coming through the middle. And I think that's going to be key. I think Trouba's going to be there. I think he's excited. Schneider's going to step it up. He has that playoff experience. So I agree with you. And we just need Keandre to get in that mix. And the other team's got to fear the whole middle of the ice.
Nicky, where you at?
I'll take the other obvious one. I was surprised that Little Ed didn't say it earlier, but I'm going to go with Mika. Consistency, offensively at least, was an issue at times for 93 this season, and I think his last 20 or so games was better, but there's still a higher gear there. He's always been a good playoff performer for the Rangers, most of the Devils series last year aside, except for Game 6. So I am counting on him being more effective and being more consistent. Maybe he even gets a lift at some point in this series from the return of Philip Hedl, maybe playing on his wing. But I feel good about Mika having a better postseason than he did regular season.
Yeah, I think Mika's definitely got to step it up. You know, we've been saying it for the past since December, really, that he's at 5-on-5. He's got to do more. But, you know, I'm going to say, and it's kind of an odd choice because of the season he just had, but it's got to be Artemi Panarin. You know, Panarin last year, I think he had no points in the 7 games against New Jersey. The Rangers have one line that produces offense 5-on-5, and that's Panarin, Trocheck, and Lafreniere. So they need Panarin to continue producing at 5-on-5. If the Capitals shut down Panarin, particularly at 5-on-5, it's kind of hard to shut him down on the power play. But if they shut him down at 5-on-5, then I think the question, the answer to the question is what Coach Ed said. I think then it's on the third line and what you said, Mika, to produce, right? Because if Panarin gets shut down, the Rangers can't score 1 or 2 goals. They have to still be able to score a couple goals and win the game, right? Mm-hmm. So if Panarin produces, and I don't think it matters really if Mika and the third line step up and improve, because Panarin's going to keep doing what he's doing, you know. So it's kind of a game of chicken here, you know. But I would love to see Panarin's a man on a mission, and I would really, really love to see him come in and dominate these playoffs and kill that narrative from last season.
I hate to use the word checked out, but that story that came out over the weekend that him and Gallant really got into it right before the playoffs last year felt like it seemed like he threw his hands up last season. In the playoffs, he played like it because the previous postseason in 22, he was far more effective.
Yeah, that was an interesting story. So for the fans that missed it, apparently last year in the playoffs, right before it, Gallant kind of undressed Panarin in front of the team. And I guess Trouba went to Drury, and we heard about this last year where Drury and Gallant got in a shouting match in the locker room during the playoff series. Apparently Trouba went to Drury and was like, hey, this isn't good, you know? So Drury ended up addressing it with Gallant, and it led to Gallant's firing. So Panarin and Gallant had a lot of friction, whereas I feel like with Laviolette, there isn't that friction. So, I mean, putting up 120 points helps and almost 50 goals, right? If you're a coach, you're not going to have friction with that guy. But
we have a comment from Instagram. Sorry, guys, for the technical difficulties, but we have Instagram live right now. We have 8 more joiners. Lauren Khaleesi said, I have all the faith in Panarin this year. And then also from Brooklyn Pig 718, Hedl was practicing on the first line today at practice. So.
Yeah, Hedl was practicing in a top 6 jersey. He was taking some line rushes in the top 6, but ultimately, the indications are he's probably not going to play game 1. I don't think the Rangers will reveal if he's going to play. I think they'll surprise Washington one way or another with it. Why tell them? Right, Coach? Why give them a heads up and say, oh, Hedl's in, you know? Why even tell them?
I mean, I think it's going to be a big thing because, first of all, you got Tom Wilson primed to just, go right at him and with an open ice hit. It's going to be very scary. And we'll get to this later, I'm sure, but that's going to be a key as to why Rempe needs to be in the lineup, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
definitely agree with that. I mean, I might be in the minority here. I know fans are really excited that Hedo's back, but I just can't see how he could be ready for playoff hockey right now. You know, he hasn't played a
I
game
agree.
in how many months? I mean, I don't know what he was doing over in Czechia, but he wasn't playing NHL playoff hockey. I can tell you that much. So, I mean, I love that he's practicing. I love that he seems healthy. Don't get me wrong, but the team has got this far without him. No offense to him. He can enjoy the ride and be part of the team and be in the locker room and stuff. But I just don't see the need for him in the lineup unless we have some serious injuries. And they have no other choice. You know, and like I said, I hate to sound negative about Hedl, but you can't jeopardize it by rushing him in and then have him not performing. It's pointless.
I think you take. I think
one hit from Tom Wilson. You know,
I think it not just from Tom Wilson, from anybody. The playoffs in general, you get hit almost every play. Yeah, there's a lot of he gets one hit and he's done. I personally, if I'm the Rangers or him, I don't think it's worth the risk at this point if they plan on having him for the future. But that remains to be seen.
I think the Rangers will probably. I hear what you're saying, but they're going to ice the best team that gives them the best chance to win. And Hedl is definitely one of their 12 best forwards. So if he's healthy and ready to go, and I think they'll find a way to get him in. Now, Little Ed brings up a good point, though. Is he ready for game action? Probably not. So maybe what we'll see is the Rangers just have him keep practicing at a battle level, and ramp up. And if we take the Rangers take a 2 or 3-0 lead in the series or something like that, maybe you get him in a game and see how he looks at that point or something. But
yeah, we also spoke about Laviolette kind of thinking outside the box in the last episode and like having small tactics. It could just be a tactic where he's creating that competition in practice. Roslovic could turn around and be like, "Oh shit, my job might be gone if Hedl performing." Well,
look at Ottawa. Roslovic scores the first goal against Ottawa after being dry
probably
for
his best game in weeks against Ottawa for
sure.
Yeah,
he feels the footsteps. So you're right. Yeah,
I got a comment from Gaza. Let's send Lefty on Tom Wilson, and hopefully Wilson will lose.
Well, look,
about that one.
Tom Wilson, he's not really known to fight other guys that are fighters or heavyweights. He doesn't really do that. So I feel like if Rempe goes after him, he's going to just walk away.
Well, first of all,
he's going to fight Rempe.
First of all, I'm sure the coaches aren't telling him to go after him. I think it's kind of like a Ryan Reeves thing where his presence is going to be enough. And Tony Granato talked about it on the playoff preview. He said that he needs to be in the lineup because Laz was saying that the energy he brings, like I was talking about a few weeks ago, just the Garden itself with him in the lineup goes crazy, and we need that. And we need that fire right away for the team. But when the coaches tell him not to go, he doesn't go. And I don't think he's been taking any stupid penalties when he's in the position in the last few games. So I think he's coachable. I think he's going to do the right thing, and he's going to be there if they need him. I don't think he's going to go skating around the rink after Tom Wilson.
I would say one of my concerns with Rempe is the possibility that he does something a little too reckless and gets like a 5-minute major. That's something that can throw a whole game and series off.
Well, that's true.
He showed restraint at the end of the season, especially in the Islander game. And I think the Capitals will try and goad him into something. The Devils did it a few weeks ago. He seemed to have learned from that experience. I was pretty much in the camp that he shouldn't play in the playoffs for a while, but I think given the opponent, it makes sense because it might get a little edgy and a little physical. So I would definitely go to him in game one, but I would not be opposed to Brodzinski coming in because I think the fourth line, especially in their own zone, functions better defensively with Brodzinski on the line as the other forward on the wing. They get out of their own end better too. They break out, especially against a trap team like Washington. That will be important.
Yeah, there's no secret that Rempe is still a little awkward on his feet, I guess. He definitely needs to work on his skating and obviously getting up to NHL speed. But, I mean, the last couple of games I've tried to pay close attention on how he's hitting and stuff. I mean, Coach Ed and I have been lucky enough to be at the Garden a few times toward the end of the season. And I think you can tell that he's keeping his arms down, especially. I mean, I was also on the side of like, sure, those hits were malicious, but it wasn't necessarily done on purpose. He wasn't going out headhunting, trying to hurt people. He just happened to be throwing big, heavy hits that ended up being on the dirty side, like just because of his size, the size of the other player, blah, blah, blah. And we've talked about that. So, I mean, like I said, like he's going in, still throwing those heavy hits, but you could tell he's already being a lot more mindful of it. And I mean, just to put my opinion on the lineup situation, I think he definitely needs to be in it, A, for the Tom Wilson situation, or just to add that extra grit, and B, it brings the Garden energy way up when he's in the lineup. I mean, it sounds silly to put someone in the lineup just because of that, but that place goes wild every time he steps on the ice.
I was going to say that.
That brings up the emotions of other players, and that means a lot. And
I agree.
We've been talking about too, and everyone's been talking about.
I agree. Like, look, no shame on Brodzinski. He's been admirable this year in his role, and he's definitely an effective 12th, 13th forward for sure. But Rempe can energize the team. He can energize the crowd. He's a big physical guy. He plays 5 minutes. He gets 5 hits. It's like he's important. Like, we need guys like that playing, on offense on the forecheck, and I think Brodzinski becomes a little redundant. Now, look, he's been effective. There were games where that fourth line with Brodzinski, VC, and Gaudreau was our best line. Rangers' best line, even offensively, controlling the puck in the offensive zone. So I get it if he puts Brodzinski in. But I think what you said, Eddie, is it. Like, Rempe and the energy of the crowd. Game 1 of the playoffs. What if that game starts 1-0 Washington after 1? You want Rempe in that lineup, right, to start that second period. Like, you don't want – you're going to be missing an element if you don't have him there. That's all.
And I think Johnny Lazarus said, I'm pretty sure it was him on our recent episode, our interview with him was like, you need those players. It was our trade deadline preview. And he said that Drury needs to trade for those players that are going to be wearing the other team down, the other team's defenseman down, and Wenberg is definitely one of those players. Every time we watch him play, he's always grinding in the corners, going after the defenseman, throwing hits, behind the net. And Rempe obviously is one of those players too. You could clearly see the defenseman on the other team when Rempe's on the ice they're literally afraid to touch the puck behind the net.
Right. I was going to say Wenberg wearing down the D and Rempe are different kinds of wearing down.
100%.
Different kinds.
Like, Rempe wears them down mentally. Like Coach Ed keeps saying, just his presence. Like, the defenseman, you can notice them. And these are not scrub defensemen. Like, these are like high-level defensemen just shying away from the puck when they know Rempe's on the ice. So if John Carlson's going back up for the breakout or whatever, and Rempe's hitting him over and over again, that completely changes the series.
Yes. Look, and go back to 2014 with McDonough and company. That's what the Kings were doing to them. They were targeted. Tampa targeted them. Throw the puck in the corner and go hit them. And, it gives that little margin for error, that half second that the D has to make a decision. And if the forecheck is read off of that, it becomes a lot of ozone time because of that. And that's a key. And that I cannot see them not playing him at the home games, at least.
It's interesting, too. The last game of the season against Ottawa, John Giannone talked about in the first period, right after Roslovic scored, they came out of the commercial break and they talked about the coaching staff imploring the group as a whole to focus on the second and third forechecker in that extra forward, being a little more swarming, a little more aggressive. So trying to be, I think, team wide, they want that right now. But that fourth line in particular, yes, Rempe, I feel like this is a good opportunity for Cooley, too, to be physical in the corner. 100%. He feels like a playoff-type player, Cooley, so I like the idea of both of those big guys in there.
Yeah, that's a good point with Cooley. It's another guy who brings a little bit of that intimidation factor in. He's a big, imposing forward. I think he was like 5th in the NHL in hits this year as a rookie, so definitely good point with Cooley. Now, just to move off Rempe, because we could talk about Rempe forever. But, let's talk a little bit about Washington. So Washington, like we said earlier, minus, I think it was 38 goal differential. I could be off by a few goals. They secure the 8th seed on the back of Charlie Lindgren, Ryan Lindgren's brother, who finished the year in his final 19 games, 12-6-2, 2.39 GAA, 9.19 save percentage, 3 shutouts, and 3-0-0 in his last 3 games to end the season, including a shutout. This guy is a career journeyman backup. He's bounced around the league a little bit, never really got an opportunity to be a number 1 starter. Comes into Washington with Darcy Kemper under a decent-sized contract and wrestles the job away from Kemper and leads Washington to a playoff berth without really anyone expecting it. I don't think a lot of analysts or fans believed Washington was going to make the playoffs this year. It just kind of worries me a little bit because, the Rangers, and it's probably not just the Rangers. It's probably just that we watch them all the time, but they struggle so much against these kinds of goaltenders. I could just see it right now. The Rangers outshoot the Caps 44-22, and it's 2-1 Washington. That's what I can see. Coach, I mean, is that a concern for you, or am I getting ahead of myself here? Oscar.
Oscar joined in on the YouTube. He said Kid line come back soon. So he wants Hedl back in the lineup as soon as possible.
I'm with
reunited with Laffy and Kako. I mean,
how I feel, Oscar.
I don't think I'd break things up right now the way they're going for Laff. But
you don't take Laff. You don't take Laff off that line.
Another one from Oscar. He's admiring his work in Coach Ed's background with the Schneider jersey.
You're the man. You're the man, Oscar.
Who is our unanimous defensive player of the week on episode 120. So
rightfully
very rare we have unanimous decision across the board, and Schneider has definitely been stepping it up. So
Coach Charlie Lindgren.
I mean, the concern is he played 3 high-pressured games to get them into the playoffs, so he's in that mode. His mental capacity obviously is phenomenal, like his brother. His desire to win and his compete level is phenomenal. We saw what he did against the Rangers a couple of games. It was like they couldn't put it in. They beat him the one time because of just pounding him. But the first game this year, he made saves that were incredible. And again, to quote Johnny Laz again, the scary part is if the Rangers don't get power plays against the Capitals 5-on-5, can they beat Lindgren in net? That's going to be tough. That's going to be the key.
Well, they should be able to, is my point.
They should be. Can they?
It's not like we're playing. It's not like they're playing Andrei Vasilevsky. You know what I mean?
Look, you asked me a question.
I know.
Like they played Aiden Hill, not Aiden Hill. They played Akira Schmid last year. Like you said in the.
That's why I'm worried.
Right. So I'm agreeing with you. It's going to be a tough. It's not going to be a full. I don't think it's going to be a sweep.
If I can try and allay some of the fears, the Caps are just as bad defensively at 5-on-5 as the Rangers sometimes are offensively. So I think there's going to be opportunities to be had. I mean, they're really bad on defense in any situation.
Way to go, Nicky Blogs.
Well, I hate to destroy guys like that. I mean, Johnny Carlson's a local guy, but this is war. There's no time for friendship here.
I love that.
You got to throw it all out. There's what I don't love is like I get superstitious about the Ranger bingo card. I call it, like the former Ranger scores a goal. Like I don't want Dylan McElrath playing. He's awful. I just watched him the other night against Philly. He's still a total car crash back there on D, but I just worry about him creeping up and doing something weird. It's the whole Spencer Carberry was in the running for the Ranger job. Now he's coaching the Caps. There's all those funny little connections within it, but the Caps are not. We have to be honest, and I think like I was talking about it with a friend of mine this week. The fan base is guilty of it sometimes itself. I'm not saying us in general, us specifically, but like talk the talk and walk the walk a bit here. This team won the President's Trophy. The Caps are not a very good team. Last year's Rangers Devils series was indicative of a group that seemed pretty switched off. I'm hoping, and I think we can say with some level of confidence, they're not going to be as switched off this time around. They better not be. We're going to have major problems. I think if you get the team we've seen all year long, they can take it to this Capitals team, and they should be the aggressor.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I tend to be negative as a fan, but the more I look at the matchup, I just can't imagine it being that competitive. I know a lot of people are cautioning, and it's a lot easier, I think, as an analyst, right, to look at it and say, oh, Charlie Lindgren could steal the series. And because then if you end up being correct, it's like, oh, I got it right. And if the Rangers sweep or it's 5 games, then you could be like, well, they're the President's Trophy. So it's a lot easier to predict the negative and end up correct and fall back on your laurels about the positives than it is to predict a positive. It's much more difficult to do that. So I kind of agree with you. I think as a fan base, the Rangers and their fans should be extremely confident going into this series. They're a way better team than Washington. I do worry, Little Ed, about the trap, though. The neutral zone trap. The Rangers, we've seen them be prone to turnovers of the blue line and kind of getting, switched off a little bit on these cross-ice passes, especially with Panarin and Lafreniere, do it a lot. And if the Capitals really play that trap game, like I expect, can the Rangers adjust and play a north-south game? I think that's going to be one of the key components of the series, because if they buy into it, then the Capitals might be able to steal a few games.
Yeah, back to the Lindgren conversation. Brooklyn Pig 718 said again from Instagram, did you hear that the Lindgren brothers aren't talking to each other?
Yeah, I saw that on Twitter. It's funny.
I can definitely see that out of Ryan Lindgren for sure. I don't know how Charlie acts, but you can definitely see that out of our Lindy for sure.
No, I sent you the tweet.
Yeah, I'll talk.
I must have missed that one.
Yeah, I sent you the tweet earlier. Not only that one, but the Tyler McGillick, who I don't know who that is, but at Tyler Richard 93 tweeted out the Lindgren Bowl circa 1889 and black and white photos of the it looks like they're like in the Civil War.
It's like the Andrew Luck Civil War account back in the.
You gotta look
NFL
at that one. It's really funny. Yeah.
I
had a busy day today.
They're old school guys, the Lindgrens. I don't imagine they'll be very friendly during the series. It would be kind of cool if Ryan can pot one on Charlie in a big moment. That would be very interesting. But we'll see about that. But Little Ed, like I was saying before you brought that up, again, the trap and the Rangers' tendency to throw cross-ice passes at the blue line, does that worry you?
Yeah, I mean, like the Rangers, they go into, I think we spoke about it on a previous episode, is like they step up in the big games, they play the right way, but then you start to see them kind of getting into bad habits against the weaker teams or the quote-unquote weaker teams. And I mean, we say it all the time, if the Rangers play that north-south game and they play with that little bit of grit and dumping the puck in, chasing it, especially in the playoffs, that's where it's going to come up big, so like you said, like that East-West game, it seems like Panarin definitely learned his lesson. I don't foresee him falling back on that, especially this late in the season. He was the biggest culprit overall, so I think he'll definitely excel. I don't know what words I'm trying to find there, but either way, Laviolette will have them prepared. I mean, all it takes is one bad period, and they'll have the adjustments. And I have full faith in Laviolette. I mean, we spoke about Gallant didn't really make those adjustments last year, So I think he has them playing the right way, and we don't really have anything to worry about in that regard.
And on Panarin, Little Ed, you mentioned that you think he'll be ready. His quote from Vince Mercogliano tweeted this out. I feel pressure for the team. I feel it for the Rangers. We have to win the Stanley Cup. So he knows. You know what I mean? He knows that the narrative from last year, his great regular season, that he cannot dud out in the playoffs again. He's got to step up here for the Rangers. He knows it, and I think he's ready for the challenge. So we'll see come Sunday.
Yeah,
for sure. But Nicky, as far as the trap, I'm really worried about it. Are you worried? I can see games like 2 and 3, it gets bogged down to a crawl, and the Rangers just can't find a goal, and it's because of that. And they're forcing things. I could see it easily.
Yeah, so I think my concern in regards to it is if the neutral zone is this clogged up, the thing that bothers me the most that this Ranger team has still a bad habit of doing sometimes is the forwards. I almost feel like they blow the zone too quick when they're trying to exit from their own defensive end of the ice. And you see the D-men just throw these hit and help passes straight up the middle of the ice. So they go for icings. They were a bit of a theme in some of the losses down the stretch, which, I mean, listen, you can't lose a lot of sleep over those. There was only 7 of them in the last 32 games of the season. But in those games, there was a lot of unnecessary icings in a row, 2, 3 in a row by Miller, by even Schneider, who's had such a terrific season, by Trouba. They have got to skate and carry the puck out and support it as a 5-man unit if they're going to break it. And I think the Rangers, I mean, you mentioned the Caps are a slower team. If they can beat it and throw it deep in the zone, the Rangers are going to live in Washington's end of the ice. They should be dogged on the puck. I mean, they should chase the thing around and use their speed to their advantage.
Yep. I'm with you. The way to beat the trap, coach, if you're coaching against a neutral zone trap and you got the Rangers talent on your bench, do you inhibit Panarin and Lafreniere from making those passes and stifle their creativity a little bit to kind of play a north-south style, or do you just kind of roll with that line doing that and then tell the other lines to do it? Like, how would you approach that as the coach?
I would sit them down. I mean, I've tried to do this, and a couple of players do respond. I think at the level they're at, they're confident in their coaches. I think they're good. I think if I was Coach Laviolette, I would get Panarin. I would get him and say, look, just dump it in early. Then it's going to open up the ice. It's a simple concept. If they think Panarin's going to dump it in and not play with it, look, they're going to be attacking two. How did Panarin get stopped this year? A couple of teams put 2 men on him every time he touched the puck. I think in the Flyers game, I forget what other game, the aggressive forecheck, 2 men on him, and then he doesn't know what to do. Get the puck past that red line, get it in there, make them play with the puck behind them. It's the oldest tactic in the book, but you have to dump it in the right. You have to dump it in the right way. They talk about that a lot. You can't just fling it in. It's got to be with Kreider breaking down the wall.
Purpose.
It's got to be going there in the right direction. Not where the goalie can play it. There's certain things. Everybody's like, oh, just dump it in. Just dump. No, at their level, there's a purpose to that dumping for sure.
Yeah, C-Row314 on Instagram said, don't worry about the trap. The coach has the ability to make adjustments and will.
Yeah, I'm confident that he's going to sit down. I think Panarin's going to buy in. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to make every perfect play, but I think he's going to know what it takes. He's going to feel pressure, and they're going to be doing the right. I'm confident in it that they're going to.
Yeah, and I agree with C-Row too. I think the biggest difference between this year and last year that makes me feel confident is the coaching. Like Coach Ed said in one episode, this is an all-star coaching staff. When you talk about Laviolette, and he gets a lot of credit, but we don't always talk about the assistants, and we got some really good assistants on the bench for the Rangers, Phil Housley and Michael Pekka. These are
we got the guy Dan Muse. No one even knows him, but he's a phenomenal coach nationally.
He's in charge of penalty kill too, which is
and
such a testament to them.
And this coaching staff has brought the Rangers a President's Trophy and third best power play in the league and the third best penalty kill in the league. So really, I want to also bring this up, not to keep changing topics so quick, but how important are special teams in the playoffs, Coach? Because, there's two schools of thought on this. I've been seeing a lot of people say, oh, the refs put their whistles away, so there's less penalties. So 5-on-5 play is more important. And then other people say, you can't win the Stanley Cup without a good power play. So both those things kind of contradict each other. Are both true? Because we look at the special teams and the Rangers should dominate at special teams. Washington is the 17th best power play and the 19th best PK in the league, and the Rangers are third in both. So does that matter so much to you?
I don't know that the refs put their whistles away. It's not like the 90s. They get there's plenty of power plays to be had. I remember the Devils series last year. There was a lot of special teams involvement. I don't remember games going with one penalty all game or something like that. In the 90s, maybe the early 2000s, there was, a lot more clutching and grabbing. They did put the whistles away, but now I think the game's under too much scrutiny and, internet and, Instagram and everything else. It's got to be called in a pretty fair way. So I don't agree with that. They put their whistles away 100%. I mean, are they going to let a little bit stuff go? Yeah, but not on the whole.
Well, I think close games.
Yes, I think special teams is going to mean a lot.
Right. So close games and overtimes, I think you're going to see that. I think the refs are going to not want to decide the game. Right. So it has to be like a blatant penalty. But I think you're right, Nicky. What do you think?
I think the most important part of your special teams in the playoffs is your penalty kill. I've seen enough teams go deep in the playoffs with a subpar power play. I always hark back to it's the 2011 Bruins that won the cup over Vancouver. Their power play struggled pretty much all postseason long, but they were excellent on the penalty kill. They made deadline additions to bolster their D with guys like Tommy Caberlet and a couple others coming in. they were a defensive first team. They ended up beating a high flying offensive minded Canuck team. I think it's possible that you can do it without a dynamic power play. If anything, the theme is just opportunism. You don't have to dazzle on it every time. We've seen these teams that, like to score a lot and play freewheeling. They end up getting bogged down in a series against a more physical team. I think the Rangers have the right mix to avoid that and have the right mix of grinders to dictate and play on their terms when they want.
Yeah, I mean, Little Ed, we've seen it all year. The Rangers power play in 1-1 games, down a goal, down 2 goals, Rangers get a call and they score. And then it just kind of goes from there where the team gets a jolt of energy. They get another power play because of some 5-on-5 forechecking. So, I mean, do you think the Rangers power play has to continue at the rate it's going for them to win the series? Or do you think if, let's say, the power play struggles a little bit, maybe they drop percentages from, instead of 1 for 4, they're 1 for 8. Is that going to be good enough? Are they going to win the series at that point? I mean, how important is the power play to you?
I mean, a power play is always important. Should they be 100% relying on it? Absolutely not. I mean, playoffs is all about 5-on-5 play, but in years past, I mean, teams get plenty of power plays. I mean, like the old verbiage is like the referees put the whistles away in the playoffs. Yes and no. I mean, in years past, I mean, the Rangers have had plenty of power plays, right? So I think having a power play is very important, and it's not a handicap to be reliant on your power play. I mean, just because they have one of the best power plays in the league, they shouldn't be penalized or scrutinized for that. And we just talked about in the last episode, how many points did how many points did Panarin have 5-on-5? How many points did Laffy have 5-on-5? I mean, obviously Mika and Kreider's line is an issue 5-on-5, but we said that in episode 120 also. If they just go even, whatever we said, balances out, whatever Cuz referenced it as, that's fine. And then they can produce on the power play, and they're also awesome penalty killers. Maybe sneak in a shorthanded goal or shorthanded opportunities here and there. So the Rangers had a phenomenal season. They obviously didn't win the President's Trophy just by having a good power play. So I think they're going to continue that on. And like we just talked about, if they play the right way, if they play the way Laviolette has been preparing them for all season with the competitive practice and things of that nature, I don't see it being an issue.
Yeah, and before we give our series predictions and move on to kind of a league-wide view in a few, I just want to say that, in my opinion, the playoffs comes down to your best players performing, right? So if your best players perform, it should match the opponent's best players performing. And then, like Coach said, you need that secondary scoring to make the difference. But if your best players don't perform, you can't rely on your third liners to match their best players, right? So Adam Fox, Igor Shesterkin, Artemi Panarin. If those 3 guys show up and perform like they have all season, the Rangers are going to win the series because Washington cannot match that. Washington doesn't have the talent to really match up against that. I mean, we talked about a little bit about their defense. Nicky mentioned earlier how bad it is. You got their first pairing, John Carlson. Is he fully healthy? I mean, I know he's been playing a lot of minutes, but I feel like he's always banged up. He's getting older. Ovechkin getting older. Oshie getting older. First line center is 22 years old. Dylan Strome. These aren't guys that really scare me. So if Fox, Panarin, and Shesterkin play to their best capabilities, the Rangers win the series. I think that's what it comes down to. I don't know if you guys disagree. But
I was going to say we've gone almost the entire episode without bringing up Igor. As much as we're respecting Charlie Lindgren's work, I don't think he's outplaying Igor Shesterkin in this series.
Right.
Yeah.
We have Igor. No one mentioned
you
that.
didn't even mention that.
Charlie Lindgren. Oh, Charlie
the great
Lindgren's
equalizer.
Great. Yeah, it's like, well,
I mean,
Igor,
lost in the shuffle.
Igor
of
had a
last
down
year's
year.
series.
He had a down year and was still top 10 in wins, save percentage, and goals against. He had a
Jonathan Quick can outplay Charlie Lindgren. Who are we kidding?
Lost in the shuffle of last year's series with the Devils was that Igor actually played really well. The Rangers forwards just did nothing against the Kira Schmid. It was not that Igor lost that series.
Yeah, and I think fans need to realize that the difference between last year and this year His last year was a 2-3 series against a team that was upstart, had a really great regular season, just as good as the Rangers, had a ton of speed. It was just a much different matchup. And it took 7 games to beat the Rangers, as badly as they, quote unquote, performed in that series, right? This year, the Rangers are the President's Trophy winners, playing a team with a minus 38 goal differential. So, you know, I'm not saying they're guaranteed to win. Obviously, we can. The playoffs we've seen it before. You know, the Blue Jackets beat the Lightning. The Panthers beat the Bruins. I get it. But you shouldn't go into the series worried that that's going to happen, because it's very, very unlikely. And if it does happen, it would be an historic upset. I mean, it would really be an historic upset for the Capitals to pull this series out against the Rangers. We lost Coach Ed, so we'll go. I don't know where he went.
Another question or another comment from Instagram. RJ Caraballo. Do you think? Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Do you guys think having Quick is going to play a role this season? I mean, I kind of just said it in a joking manner, but definitely doesn't hurt to have a previous Conn Smythe winner on the bench, ready to go in whenever he's needed. You know, so do I think he's going to be needed? Not necessarily, but you never know if Igor has a bad game, the Rangers have a bad game, and Quick's got to come off the bench, or God forbid there's an injury. So I'm not worried if Quick has to play a game. I have full faith in him.
Injury.
Yeah.
Well, you got the experience of 3 Stanley Cups, including last year at Vegas, where he didn't really play, but he's in that locker room, you know, and he's one of the winningest goalies in NHL history. And has the most wins of any American-born goalie. Rangers have a lot of American players. Don't think that they don't understand that, the significance of that, right? A guy like even Chris Kreider, a veteran of 300 goals in the league, looks at Jonathan Quick with a little bit of admiration. Probably, he's a great American hockey player. So I think he's very impactful. Even if he doesn't step on the ice for a second, him being there is impactful. I think he and Igor get along great. We talked about this in the past, Coach, about Georgiev, and you made fun of me about how much I hated Georgiev. He didn't really root for Shesterkin. You know, like Quick, when Quick had the hot run and all the fans were saying Quick's the number 1 goalie, right? And the guy wrote it on the car or whatever in the snow. Remember that?
Yeah.
Quick was telling the media, Igor's the best goalie in the league. I learned from Igor in practice every day, whether it's true or not, whatever. He understood that Igor was more important to the Rangers than he was in the long run, and he built Igor up. He didn't try to run away with that number 1 job and bury Igor. He built Igor back up.
Well, it's similar to the Boston Bruins goaltending situation where they have a great tandem and they root each other on. I mean, when Igor was going through his struggles and Quick was winning those games, I saw more often than not he was the first or second guy on the ice to tap masks with him or whatever when he won. When Quick won, he didn't have that pouting face like Georgiev did. He was out on the ice quick. He was excited about the team winning and that it was happening. And that is a very good point. I think it's a good tandem. Quick knows his role. He's not trying to steal his job. He's there for a purpose, and he's comfortable in that area.
Yeah, K Miska 92 on Instagram said, Quick is a great teammate. Did you guys see where Quick was last night? He was on Long Island to see Jeff Carter's last game. So that just shows his character. I mean, I'm not a fan of Jeff Carter, but if Quick is a fan of Jeff Carter,
well, they won cups together. I mean,
no, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, I think Jeff Carter's a great player. I watched him play against the Islanders 2 years ago.
No, he's a great player, but he always killed the Rangers. That's why I'm not
you got to respect him for what he is. I hated him when he was on the Kings for sure.
He was a playoff caliber, playoff style player. You know?
That just shows you the camaraderie of hockey in general. Also,
Lavi's not a big fan of his either, but that's a story for a different show.
Yeah. So, all right, let's talk series predictions. Let's go out on a limb here, pick what team's going to win this series and in how many games. I don't want to say you're committed to this for your bracket challenge, but we'll get to the bracket challenge shortly when we bring on Mikey P. So we'll start with Coach, so this way he doesn't feel compelled to be.
Mine's in here already. I have mine written down already.
What do you got, Coach? Who wins the series? How many games?
I got Rangers in 5.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm going with 5 as well.
I'm going with 5.
Yeah, we all got the same pick. Wow. I agree with
Game day jinx.
No, it's just Charlie Lindgren's going to get one of these games. It's just going to happen.
Yeah.
Or there's going to be some lucky bounce or some overtime nonsense. They're bound to lose a game, but this could easily be a sweep. We got Mikey G, Rangers in 6. I could see it going 6.
That's Mikey Pierce. That's Mikey 150.
Oh, is it? Well, who's G?
I see him laughing backstage.
Who's the G
Um,
for? What's the G for?
Yeah, how am I
we might
supposed to know it?
We might as well just bring him on. I think that's a good segue.
I should have known. There's a guy diving in, getting fish.
I thought it was a mermaid.
Yeah.
Merman.
Merman pop.
Cut the lung.
What's up, boys? How we doing?
What's up, Mikey?
Hey.
You
Mikey,
know,
who you-
living in
you got-
partial winter up here north of the wall.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. All right, so now we got.
Mikey, you gave me the biggest laugh, I think, of the year.
He
Oh,
was
yeah, what's
cracking
that?
up reading your outline before.
Oh my God!
He
Here I
actually
am
read it
going
to the
through.
end.
I actually read the whole thing. I'm like, wow, this is good. I like the all the intricate stuff and knowledge and stats. Get down to the Islanders.
Yeah, it is what it is.
I can't.
We'll
stop
get there. We'll
thinking
get
about
there.
We'll get there.
So,
All right, so the
Yeah.
transition off the Rangers into, I guess, the rest of the league. K Miska 92 on Instagram, very live in the chat. Thank you very much. He said, "Why is the Rangers 5-on-5 play scrutinized so much, but Carolina's isn't? Carolina only scored 4 more goals 5-on-5 than the Rangers did."
it's a good
All right.
question. It's a good
I like
question,
that.
and the answer to that question is that the analysts that are judging 5-on-5 aren't looking at just goals for. They're looking at analytics. So they're looking at puck possession. They're looking at forechecking, sustained offensive zone time, things like that. So they're looking at the stats that Coach Ed doesn't like: expected goals, goals off a rush, yada yada yada. So when you look at Carolina's puck possession versus the Rangers at 5-on-5, it's not great. And also, I don't know if that stat, if it's only 4 goals 5-on-5, maybe if you take away just power play goals, but I think there were some of the Rangers goals were shorthanded at least this year, like 6 or 7, at least. So I'd be curious to see the exact 5-on-5, or I guess you could do it as even strength, right? So 3-on-3 or 4-on-4. The Rangers would be better if you include 3-on-3 because they won 8 overtime games, right? So, but the answer is analytics and not just goals. That's the answer.
If I can just real quick on the Hurricanes, I don't mean to go veering off topic here, but I've hated them for years, and I think they are total shot merchants. They are analytics darlings because they throw everything at the net from all over. Joe Micheletti would love Hurricanes games because all he wants them to do is shoot the puck. That is like his whole MO, the entire broadcast. The Canes are good. I'm not trying to disrespect the quality of their team, but I think a lot of their stats are inflated, and they become easily beaten when they play that way all the time. They never break from how they play.
But they're really hard to play against. They play a 1-3-1. It's the same thing LA does, and that's just a system that if it gets in your head that you can't beat it, you just can't beat it.
I've been saying
it's
it,
play
Mikey.
Against.
I've been saying
it's so hard
for
to play
a while.
Against. Yeah.
The Canes don't scare me. Everybody's scared of the Canes. Everyone's picking them ahead of the Rangers. That team does not scare me. I'm more afraid of Tampa Bay than I am Carolina.
The Canes play that 1-3-1, and then they switch to man in their own zone. And when you have the amount of skilled players that the Rangers have, it's really hard to maintain man-to-man coverage for a consistent period of time with that sort of level of, shiftiness, I guess, that the Rangers have in their lineup. Like, they have a lot of really talented players that can score from, a lot of different places on the ice. So it's pretty hard to maintain man coverage.
Yeah, and the Canes' success. Why don't we just talk about their series after this, since we're here to talk about it? But the Canes' success is, I think, based on volume, right? So their strategy has always been, and now they have Gensel and Kuznetsov. I get it, but their strategy has always been to bring volume and win that way. And when you have Igor Shesterkin, that's not always going to work. right? So it's hard to win with volume when you have elite goaltending on the other side. I think that's where the Canes are going to run into some trouble. But what about Canes against the New York Islanders, who squeezed into the Metro 3 with an 8-1-1 finish? A lot of Islander fans out there are very, very arrogant right now, especially in the Twitter world, with their finish, thinking that they're going to play spoiler against Carolina and move on to round 2. But Mikey, what is your analysis on the Canes Islanders series?
Coach, you want to take this one?
No, you go.
I think the Islanders are not very good. I think they're so significantly outmatched in almost every metric that you can measure. I mean, they're outclassed the Islanders in every aspect. I mean, yeah, Sorokin's, he's a good goalie. The Canes could potentially get goalied, but we were just talking about it. Their system is so hard to play against, and the Islanders really don't have a whole lot of scoring threats outside of, Barzell. What's that first line? Barzell, Horvat, and I don't even know who else they have on the wing, but
Cizikas.
Brock Nelson.
Casey.
Yep,
Cizikas. No, they have Cizikas there.
Yeah. Like, I mean,
Nelson
honestly,
Paul
like
Barry was
it's.
the second, you're right.
That's right. They put Cizikas
I mean, so I mean, you're saying it right now. I mean, it's just they're really outclassed. There's really no chance, no world that I see the Islanders taking this one.
So, what do you think it goes? How many games?
5. I'd say the Islanders can probably squeak 1 in there. But what you were saying about Shesterkin, yes, he's a great goaltender, but you got to give the Canes goalie some credit. Freddie Anderson is phenomenal, and that kid Kochetkov is. I mean, you can say it doesn't scare me all you want, but you got to acknowledge that they've been playing fantastic, and they are going to be really hard. Like, you guys could get goalied just to the same extent that Carolina could get goalied by Shesterkin at the level that they have been playing through the latter half of the season.
If both goalies play to the best of their capabilities, the Rangers are the better goalie.
Yeah.
That's it. So that's what it comes
it's a fair
down
assessment. I mean, Anderson's 41 and Kachechov's got no playoff experience, so it's perfectly valid. I'd agree with that.
But it'll be a good series. I'm not saying the Rangers will sweep, but I'm not. It's like everyone's shaking about Carolina. Like all these Ranger fans.
You got to play round 1 first,
Yeah, let's be Washington, and let's see who wins this series. So you got Hurricanes in 5. You got the Islanders winning a game. Interesting.
Yeah, I think they'll take one.
What else is going on in the East? What other matchup in the East has really got you excited?
Well, I mean, this just rivalry city. I mean, you got Boston, Toronto, and Tampa, Florida. I mean, they're both phenomenal. I think in terms of matchup quality, your better series is going to be Florida, Tampa for sure. That's just that one. I sat and looked at that for a while, and there's really no metric that I see separating these teams. They're just so freaking good in every aspect of the ice. I mean, we've talked about it 100 times. Tampa has been surgical with the way they approach adding players to their teams and filling these small little niche roles. And I mean, their fourth line right now, Tanner Jeannot, Connor Sheary, and Austin Watson. Like, that's a heavy fourth line. That's the type of line that just beats you up in the playoffs. You just hate every time they come on the ice.
It's got 2 guys with 200
to the same
hits.
extent. Yeah. I mean, to the same extent, though, Florida, I mean, their fourth line's a bit different. They're more of the poke you, give you a butt end after the whistle type deal. But, you're running into guys like Sam Bennett that, nobody really likes Sam Bennett unless you're a Panthers fan. Let's just put it that way. So it's going to be a really nasty series. It's going to be tons of hits. Those teams really don't like each other. And, I mean, goaltending, Vasilevsky's best goalie in the world, but you all saw what Bobrovsky did last year. He was the best goalie in the world through the playoffs last year. So, I mean, all the metrics say it's going to be an unbelievable matchup to watch. So I'm pretty fired up for that one.
Yeah, sorry, a little late here.
Go ahead.
Lauren Kulisi on Instagram with a hot take. I feel like the Islanders will upset the Canes in 7.
Ooh.
Just clip this, and then you can burn me after that. Please do.
Yeah, I just don't see it. I mean, the Islanders play hard and they've been playing well for sure. But I don't know, man. Carolina is just way better. Like Mikey said, in almost every facet of the game. The only facet I give the Islanders the edge is goaltending. I think Varlamov and Sorokin I would take over Anderson and Kochekov. So in order for the Islanders to do that, those two would have to be like out of their minds. Like if those two play out of their minds, then maybe. But
I just don't see the Islanders' defensive core being close to Carolina's.
Yeah, that's another. I mean, they just are way better. They're outclassed.
I mean, Mike, our buddy Sean, we go on his podcast and he comes up with this, Pellick and Pullock are elite defensemen. No, an elite defensive pair.
Yeah.
What's your assessment of that?
I think they are individually, they could each be part of an elite pair. They sort of remind me of like, I hate to bring up the Canadians, but like when Subban won the Norris, I can't remember if it was Markov or Yemelin. I think it was like Markov or Yemelin that was on his side. And it's the same style of game. Like those dudes, their names don't really get mentioned a lot, but they fill every gritty stat category. They block pucks, they get the hits, they fill shorthanded minutes, they'll get some power play time, they play against the top lines on the other team. I think as a pair, they're probably not a first pair, but I think they could be a complement to a number one defenseman.
Yep, I think that's a fair analysis.
That's a fair analysis. Not an elite pair in the league.
They could be the Ryan Lindgren to an Adam Fox, is what Mikey's saying.
They both had better years the last couple seasons prior to this one, but it's been a real struggle for them at times this year. Dobson's emerged as clearly their best blue liner.
Absolutely.
Don't say that because he only gets points, so he's not better. That's all. Points don't matter for defensemen. But,
I can't believe the Montreal Canadiens popped into my head. Of every friggin' hockey game and defensive pair that I've ever watched, that was the first thing that popped into my head.
PK Subban rent free. Anyway,
no kidding.
So who you got? Who you got in the Florida Tampa game?
Florida in 7.
Florida in 7.
You see, Goss is messy.
Gaza Rangers in 5.
Come on, guys! I wouldn't hate a chocolate teapot.
The Capitals are as useless as a chocolate teapot. The Canes suck. I love it. I love it, Gaza.
This is great.
All right, Florida in 7. All right, so now talk about your Bees and Maple Leafs before we move to the West.
Right on cue, Gaza.
This is a tough one for you, I think.
Yeah, this is a hard one, man. I don't know if how intricately everyone knows the history, but the Bruins beat the Leafs in 2013, 2018, and 2019. They knocked them out of the playoffs. The Leafs have not beat the Bruins yet this year. This is a big time trap series for the Bruins. In the past, they have been an extremely elite defensive team, largely due to guys like Chara, Bergeron, Krejci, these guys that really built the system and set sort of the precedent for the way the Bruins play hockey for the better part of the last decade. And we don't have that anymore. And the Leafs still have all of that offensive firepower. And the Bruins are significantly outclassed offensively. Like the Bruins are not a very offensively gifted team whatsoever. They're pretty much live and die by David Pastrnak and their depth scoring, which is pretty hot and cold, pretty streaky. So it's really difficult in that aspect. So really what this series comes down to is the Bruins defense, mainly Charlie McAvoy, and whether he can really handle that Matthews-Marner tandem. And if they can, then I think the Bruins can outplay the Maple Leafs. I mean, they've significantly outgoalied them. Swayman and Ullmark have owned the Maple Leafs this year.
We got Ryan Farrell saying Bruins in 7. It's happening again. Leafs are getting goaled. I
love the energy, buddy.
I love it. For old times,
I love it.
Season 7.
That's the X factor. I mean, Mikey.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're picking against your team. Is that right?
I'm really nervous this year. I just think the Bruins have shown these tendencies through the season that they sort of go into these slumps where they just don't generate anything offensively. And it's been happening more and more frequently. Oh, I know. But see, that's the problem. When you can't generate anything offensively with an offense that's as high powered as Toronto's. I think they had over 300 goals this year. I think they had the best offense in the league.
Sure, but what did they do against the Bruins?
Jack shit. But I mean, the regular season means jack shit when it comes to the playoffs. I mean, we all know that.
I know. I'm just saying,
So,
Jeremy Swayman 3-0-0 against the Leafs, 93 saves on 97 shots in those games. I mean,
but yeah.
Mikey,
But lately, Swayman's
that's
been
how
average.
the Bruins win. That's how the Bruins win. If that doesn't
100%.
happen,
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I
Nicky,
completely
what'd you
agree.
say?
Yeah, it's
I was going to say, Mikey, do you have a preference on who you want to start more of the games in the series? You want to roll with Swayman or Ullmark?
so I'm a big fan of just rolling the same way they've been going all year. I think Ullmark gets game 1. He's been phenomenal lately. I think you go Swayman game 2, and then back to Ullmark. The thing that nobody,
Even if Allmark puts
a
up a great game, you still go to Swayman game 2?
Yep, absolutely.
That's fair.
So
I like
Wow.
the thing nobody really talks about with Ullmark is he's historically not very good in prolonged, back-to-back games. I'd say 2 games is probably his limit, and then his play sees a rather precipitous decline after that.
Interesting.
So he's much better off in this tandem. And I mean, it's been their dynamic the whole year. Monty's rolled it. It's worked. They've each been phenomenal. They've supported each other when the other one's been playing like crap, which is kind of what's been happening with Swayman lately. But after last year, when they rode Ullmark and threw Swayman in game 7, how could you possibly do that again? It was the immediate topic of conversation when the Bruins lost, and Monty came out and was like, I'm not doing that again. So it's got to be just roll with the same, back-to-back they've been doing throughout the year.
It's interesting. You don't really see that, but the Bruins, I think, do have a true 1A, 1B. I don't know if a lot of other playoff teams have that, but that's a true 1A, 1B for sure.
Yeah. I think the Canes do, man. I think Anderson and Kochetkov are pretty close. The way they played for the last month or so, they have that capacity.
Okay. All right. We can't just rely on the last month. Kochetkov is a 2 or a 3. He's not a 1B.
I don't know. We'll see.
We will see. We will. Anyway.
Ryan Farrell says Leafs don't have a true defense or a goalie.
Well, that's the thing. That's what I'm
right.
surprised on your analysis. You're like, the Bruins struggle to score goals. I agree, but they're playing Toronto.
Yeah. So
that's what I'm,
Yeah, I agree. That's what I mean when I say the Bruins offense is that bad. Like, there have been stretches when, like the Ottawa game, they had 2 shots on net in the first period. Like, they go through stretches where, like, several periods at a time where they play like that. And in the playoffs, if you do that, if you get in a rut, it's very easy to fall behind, and that, I mean, it's very difficult to come back from that. The one thing I forgot to mention is the Leafs penalty killing is dog shit. So if they take penalties and the Bruins power play gets any momentum, I think that's going to be a real Achilles heel for Toronto.
Hey, this is a PG show, buddy.
Sorry, family friendly.
I was going to say, I'm curious who the Leafs roll with in this series. I mean, Samsonov has had a really up and down season, to be kind to him. He's been pretty bad most of the year. They seem to respond pretty well as a group to Joseph Woll playing. And I don't know why, but even last year when he got in against the Panthers, he played pretty well and he held his own. I don't know. I just feel like the Leafs they'll inevitably get themselves in that position against you guys again, where they have a chance to steal the series and win it at home and blow it. And here we go again.
That's an interesting one. I could totally see that happening. That would make for a really good story too. It's really interesting for the Leafs because as bad as their goalies potentially are, I mean, Samsonov has been playing great lately. It's an interesting dynamic for them having Woll sitting on the bench, knowing that he has that playoff experience and has shown up for those games and carried the Leafs. However briefly he did, he played very well for them. So it's maybe another sort of dynamic or maybe card, I guess, in the Leafs back pocket that they haven't necessarily had in previous years. So that's a good point with the 2 goalies.
The most interesting thing about them too, I just saw this, Keefe on the road in the playoffs, his record's way better as head coach of Toronto versus at home. They are brutal at Canadian Tire Center or whatever it is now, or Scotiabank Arena. They change it around all the time.
Keefe's just terrible at matchups.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Yes, I agree. I
when
think
other teams dictate the matchups.
I think they feel the pressure in their own building. I feel like it's too intense in there for them sometimes.
Yeah.
So Mikey, give your firm prediction and let's take a look out west after that.
Man, I hate that these words are gonna come out of my mouth. I'm gonna say Leafs in 6.
Leafs in
I hate
6.
it.
Wow.
It makes my skin crawl,
God,
man.
look
That
at this
makes my
guy.
skin crawl.
With the
Look at this
Bruins
guy.
jerseys hanging in the back. We
Jack
now.
Edwards
I
is
know.
so mad at you, Mikey.
Yeah. Yeah, you should be
Hey,
kicked off.
I'm not playing the game.
Bruins
I'm not
fandom.
playing the game. That's misdirected anger if he's firing hate my way.
Fair.
I'm just calling it the way I see it.
Agreed.
All right, so before
Yeah.
we go to the matchups out west, I want to go back to a comment from Megan at 8:33. So this is a while ago. I know it's early to ask, but when, I'm not going to say if, the Rangers make it to the finals, who do y'all not want the Rangers to play against? So we're looking at the Western Conference here. Coach, in case you weren't paying attention, it's Edmonton, Vegas, Dallas, LA, Colorado, Winnipeg, Nashville, or Vancouver. Of those 8 teams, which of those 8 teams do you think the Rangers don't match up the best with if they're lucky enough to get to the finals? Now, look, I'm personally one that doesn't really like doing this because I think we get ahead of ourselves. But we're not playing the games, right? We're just fans. We don't really have an impact. We don't need to be in the right mindset as a player would. But as a fan, which team out west scares you the most?
I'm going to go with Vegas.
Vegas is a popular pick.
I
I was going to say Vegas as well.
Yeah, I think they're a complete team. They play physical. They have skill. They have the grittiness that you need to have. They got the package. If Stone's in the game, then it's a big part of it. I think it's a tough matchup.
I'm going to say, for me, it's between Dallas and Winnipeg. And it's really because of the goaltending. It's Jake Ottinger and Connor Hellebuck. And for me, those teams have a lot of depth. They're physical teams, and they're probably 2 of the better goalies in the league. So, they're big goalies, hard to score. I don't know. If they get to the finals, that means their goalies are hot, and that could be a disastrous matchup for the Rangers. So I'm between the two.
I don't see Dallas as a scare personally. I know that they're very good, but we beat them. Did we beat them twice this year?
Dallas
doesn't mean much.
Dallas is probably the deepest team in the NHL. I mean, they're probably their forward group is probably the deepest in the league. And recently I was just watching because of fantasy hockey, like following some of my guys, and not in our league, but a different league. And I was playing against Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin, and they were against the Avalanche. And they just manhandled the Avalanche. It was Dallas just dominated that game, man. And the Avalanche are really good. I don't know. I mean, look, I don't watch them enough, but I looked at that game and I said, that's the team that can win the Stanley Cup, especially if Ottinger.
For my money, guys, it's the Stars. I think they're the Rangers, maybe not pound for pound, player for player, but to me, they're the Rangers' doppelganger in the other conference. They're deep. They're well coached. They're a pretty solid team. All 4 lines are good. Their D is really solid. Ottinger, when he's right, is as good as they come. I worry about them. I have my preview coming out tomorrow, which you can catch on the site on the Broadway breakdown. So you'll see my playoff preview as a whole. But I'm a little worried for Colorado. As bad as Winnipeg was in the second half, I don't think Colorado has the depth that they've had in years past. They are very, very top heavy. And I wouldn't trust Alex Georgiev as far as I could throw him. So,
we'll get there when we look at that matchup.
Yeah, Dallas would be my pick, though. I think they're a really tough team.
Well, shout out to Mikey 150 on Twitter today, or on X today. He posted that no one on Dallas is a point per game player. I found
Winnipeg.
Or Winnipeg. Yeah, I found that pretty odd. So I mean, I look at it as kind of a bad thing. I mean, yeah. We say it all the time. I mean, Carolina's been looking for it for years. It's like that one scoring superstar. I mean, I Coach Ed and I are firm believers of having a well-balanced team. Don't get me wrong, but you need that one guy like the Panarin or like, I don't know, Zibanejad in years past. Like you need that one superstar.
They got a lot. They got Robinson, Johnson.
Yeah, but he's not.
I think that
they're not a point per game player. I mean, Robinson,
right.
he's a superstar, but he's not on the Panarin level.
I think there's explosiveness in there, though. Like Robertson and those guys, they're really high. I mean, Robertson's a high caliber goal scorer. I think he's had a down year. Also, he's not like Panarin season. He's getting the assist guy this year for some reason.
And he's proven he can perform in the playoffs too. He showed up last year.
Yes, he
Yeah.
did.
big time.
For sure.
So
I think it's that difference between being a superstar and being elite. You know, I mean,
Yeah,
Robertson might be
that
on
makes
his
sense.
way. He might be on his
But-
way there. Don't get me wrong; he's a great player. I like watching him play.
I get your
But-
point.
but-
There's no Nathan
Is it-
McKinnon on that team.
Right.
Isn't this just the Vegas effect, though? They, expansion year, they draft a team full of second line players. They have no major superstars, and then they make it to the cup.
Yeah. I mean, it's all about time and place, and the
Yeah.
team's playing hard, getting
Be
lucky.
done.
For sure.
But they didn't win the cup.
Right. They didn't
Yeah.
win.
It's fair because Capitals had Ovechkin.
Yeah.
No, I hear you. I'm a big believer in
Or
elite talent
Backstrom.
wins, so you don't have to sell me on that. I get your point. I think they're a really deep team, though, and Winnipeg. I look at the goalies when I look at matchups, also, and I just if the Rangers can have the better goalie in every series they play, I like my chances. Right. So when we get to a series with Ottinger or Hellebuck or Vasilevsky, that's when it starts to even out against Shesterkin, and that's where I start to feel like, like this could go a bad way. But if we just go in with Igor winning that matchup, I'm happy.
Yeah, K Miska 92 again on Insta said, doesn't Dallas have 8 20-goal scorers though? So
Yeah, that's
they
a
got
great point.
lineup.
There's something to be said for scoring by committee. Like you guys were talking about it before I came on. Like if your superstars take a night off in the playoffs, it's really hard to win. But when you have a team that can score by committee, and Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor aren't firing on all cylinders, it's really nice having your third line, with Adam Lowry being able to stuff in a goal.
Sean
every
Monahan.
now and
Dallas
again.
has Duchesne. They have Ben, Sagan, Johnson, Robertson, Fox,
LA as well.
Hintz, Rupe Hintz.
Yep.
I am so
Velski.
glad you said that, Mikey. The Kings have, I think, one of the best
LA
forward
as well.
cores in the whole playoff bracket. They
do.
questions
The
at the back
Kings?
end.
Yeah, suspect. Yeah, they're
Pierre-Luc
another
Dubois
team.
aside, they're a loaded
No
forward.
point of game players, man. They're another team that scores by committee.
All right, let's start with Dallas and LA since we're talking about both, Mikey. So Dallas looks like they're going to match up with the Kings. Do we have an update on the scores tonight? Is there any change to that? Because Vegas could still drop to that spot, right?
Oh, I
don't
thought
think
we
we
were
started
talking
yet.
about the Dallas series. We were just answering that question the whole time.
Yes, that's right.
I don't think Vegas and LA started yet, right?
No, they started 10, so we don't have an update yet. But if Vegas loses and the Kings win, then the Kings will play Edmonton and Vegas will play Dallas. But let's assume that both those teams will win. They're playing Anaheim and Chicago, so I don't really anticipate a loss for either club. So, all right, Dallas versus LA, if that's the series, what are you looking at here?
I mean, they're like the same team. They play the same style game. We basically just had this debate. They're score by committee team. The only thing that's suspect for LA is their goaltending. I mean, Rittich and Talbot, the LA was electric earlier in the year because Talbot was just wild. And then he just disappeared for a while. And so if the Kings are going to succeed, it will hinge on them. Very much so. I think these teams match up very well 1v1. Like you said, LA's forward core is phenomenal. They're great. They're very deep. They get it done. Hate on PLD all you want. I agree with you, but the stats don't lie. They're a hard team to play against. They play that 1-3-1 like Carolina. And it takes patience and structure to beat that. And I think Dallas, of all the teams in the West, can do that. So I think Dallas will take this one, but it will be a good series to watch for sure.
All right. So Dallas in how many games?
What did I say? 5. That's pretty bold. It's probably not going to be 5, but let's go for it.
5 close games.
Yeah. There you go. 5 1-goal games. Overtime.
All right.
All of them.
All right. So the matchup that is set in stone, the Canucks and the Predators. I know you've been high on Nashville. We've had our debates in the group chat about the Predators and what's been driving their success. So where are you at going in with this series with Nashville? Are they going to upset Vancouver?
No, I don't think so. Vancouver's just so it's a tough one because Vancouver, their core doesn't have the playoff experience, but they have guys like Hronek and JT Miller in that lineup that have been around the block. And I think Quinn Hughes is good enough that he can sort of overcome that level of immaturity. And I think the Canucks will eventually take this, but the Predators should not be counted out whatsoever. They're a phenomenal team. I mean, the way they wheeled at the deadline, and I mean, you have Saros and Yossi and Forsberg. I mean, no one really talks about Forsberg when you talk about like elite scoring talent in the NHL, but he's a phenomenal offensive player, and he can carry a team.
And you got Ryan McDonough
and Ryan O'Reilly. I mean,
I was going to say ROR is a big part of this.
Yeah, I mean, I constantly preach the importance of face-offs. I mean, I'm surprised you guys don't, given how crappy the Rangers were for the longest time in face-offs.
We always talk about face-offs. You clearly don't listen to the show.
Yeah, no, not on our text messages, but the face-offs are huge. And O'Reilly is, outside of Sid, he's the best face-off man in the NHL. So having him, that's a massive asset, especially in a special teams capacity. So don't count Nashville out, but I think Vancouver will outclass them, especially if Demko can get back to his regular season form. I don't think Nashville can stand up to the Canucks.
I don't know, little Ed. What do you think?
Quick shout out to our Inside the Ranger Room episode and my buddy Mike up in Connecticut, fan_of_ New York Rangers on Instagram. He collects the cards. He said, I need Dallas to make it to the finals. I just pulled a nice autographed rookie card of Ottinger. So
Ooh, beautiful.
Mike, for your sake, I guess, good luck to that. But I don't know. I'd be a little worried to play Dallas. Sorry, what was the question?
No, he was saying that Nashville doesn't really stand a chance against Vancouver.
No,
I was thinking today, I think that might be the one spoiler. I think that's going to be the spoiler in the Western Conference for some reason.
I don't know.
I have Nashville.
Vancouver is a little bit of paper tiger this year, I think. It's their first year being successful. I think they're ripe for an upset, I think. But maybe, look, they're a good team.
I agree with that. I could see that. Yeah, absolutely. I envision them being like the – no, go ahead.
I was sorry, Mike. I was just going to say you can't predict an injury, but Demko's coming back from being hurt, and he's always been very fragile too. I'd keep an eye on that early in the series.
Definitely.
Saros is just a workhorse. That's the scary part. He's awesome.
Yeah, Saros can steal that series, and Vancouver's inexperienced. I don't know. It's going to be close. It's going to be.
Can I nominate this series for the two best atmospheres in the first round? Because I think Bridgestone's awesome, and the Canucks haven't been in the playoffs in a long time, but it's going to be wild up there.
That I see them being to that tune. I see them being sort of like the Leafs last year. I think they're just going to come out of the gate and just be flying, and then fizzle out in the second round. That's sort of where I see the Canucks going.
Gaz has got the Canucks in 6, and Ryan Farrell in the YouTube chat has the Preds in 5. Wow.
Ooh.
Damn.
Love the optimism. I admire that.
The Canucks' only big playoff experience is truly JT Miller.
Yeah. No, he's not wrong. I mean, look, the Canucks lack experience, and that's a question mark. And, Nashville's, I don't know if they've been hot lately, but they're hot going into the playoffs. So,
Mike,
I don't hate it.
Mike, if Nashville wins, you got to wear a cowboy hat on the next podcast.
Done. Easy.
he would do that anyway.
Serious?
Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
With the
Eclipse glasses. If the Canucks win, you have to wear a big foam hat on the next one.
No. If Nashville wins, you have to do your next 150 after that. The following 150, you have to do it underwater with a GoPro swimming with sharks. How about that?
I can't do this. The sharks don't come close enough to shore up here. You'll probably get some lobsters.
All right. Winnipeg and Colorado. That one's set in stone. It'll start in Winnipeg. It looks like Monday, I think.
Yeah. I mean, we already touched on this, but this is the Jets goaltending is phenomenal. The Jets are a really, really good hockey team. Their defense doesn't get enough credit. They're the only team in the NHL that was under 200 goals against through the whole season. Their defense is big. It sort of reminds me of like when Tortorella coached the Rangers, the way they just block shots, they just eat pucks, they get in lanes. They're really, really hard to play against defensively, and they have a really deep core of skill guys spread across their 4 lines that are very difficult to play against. And on the other side of the coin, the Avalanche, I mean, Georgiev is terrible. He's been so bad. He's 1-3-1 through his last 5, 22 goals against, 8.43 save percentage. Like Hellebuck's got 10 goals against in his last 5. He's 5-0 with a 9.35. You know, he's significantly outclassed. The Avs are a bit top heavy. I really don't see the Avalanche winning this one. I say Jets. What I say, Jets in 7, I think is what I went.
Wow.
Yeah, Jets in 7. Yeah.
What I'm really hoping for is the Jets to light up Georgiev, and then Sakic trades him to New Jersey to solve their goaltending issues. And then we can have
Mike,
Georgiev battles in the Hudson.
Mike, you're saying the Avs don't have a chance against Winnipeg?
I'm not saying nobody has no chance.
Oh, I
there's
thought
none of that
I
going
thought
around.
that's what you just said. Chance.
You did just say that. Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Well,
You said I don't
just-
see the Avs have a chance.
I misspoke. It's Jets in 7. This is going to be a good series, but I think ultimately the Jets outclass the Avalanche.
Okay.
I think
it's going to come down to the
outclass
goaltending. It's going to come down to the goaltending, no doubt.
I'm going to take Winnipeg. I don't know how many games. I'm going to take Winnipeg because of Georgiev. So.
Yeah, but Hellebuck, both of these goalies have been horses. They're like Soros. They played a lot this year. So I mean, if these series go deep in the West, a lot of these goalies have, you know, comparatively played a lot more games than the goalies in the East. You know, Sergachev was hurt half the year. The Bruins goaltending, Quick had a good spell there. So, you know, goaltending. Yeah, sorry, Vasilevsky was hurt. Yeah. So, you know, come the end, you know, the latter rounds of the playoffs, you might see some tired goalies out West. And I think Hellebuck and Georgiev are 2 of the prime candidates for that.
I actually have the Avalanche. I just think McKinnon wills them to win the series on his firepower. Yeah. The top 6 guys just kind of go crazy in this one. I don't think the Avalanche are going deep, but I do think they find a way to steal the series. Probably in 7. But
I think the problem with picking the Avalanche is you're then picking Georgiev, and he's a C.
I am not a Georgiev fan by any stretch. As I said on the last time I was on with you guys, when Trocheck beat him in the shootout, I enjoyed that so much. And if the Devils want him on top of, I don't know if you heard, Cousin Ed, but they're changing dress code next season. That's how they're addressing this season's letdown. Tom Fitzgerald said today that it was a dress code issue. So,
okay.
Pre-game suits, new things for the Devils next season with your.
Well, they should wear suits anyway. I mean, every team does that.
I don't know what was going on, but yeah, that's for the Leafs don't. That's true. But I don't know. I have a hard time getting it McKinnon.
I think the biggest difference in that Winnipeg series is Jack Johnson on the defense for the Avs.
Shut up. I don't know if you guys saw, but Winnipeg just played Colorado and scored 7 goals, knocking Georgiev out after 4 on 15 shots. And then the next game, Georgiev was up 3-0 and gave up 3 goals in the third and lost in overtime. So I just can't, until he shows that he can be the guy and come through, I'm just not going to pick them. I mean, because goaltending is just too important in the playoffs, and he is looking horrible right now. He's not going in hot. Yeah. He just looks like a mess.
He was really bad against Seattle last year, too.
So I don't know.
K Miska 92 said Winnipeg just went into Colorado with home ice on the line and spanked them 7-0. So
right,
to piggyback off that. And then also our cousin Chris Greco joined the chat, coach. So
what's up, Chris? What's up, Chris? Thanks for joining. All right.
Thanks for joining.
Last battle, the Oilers and the Vegas Golden Knights. Is this the year that Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl reach the Stanley Cup final?
Live in the chat.
It looks like if they do, they're going to have to start that run by beating the defending Stanley Cup champions, the Vegas Golden Knights. Mikey, not exactly how you want to start if you're an Oilers fan.
I mean, if there was ever a time to beat Vegas, it would be now. There was so much hype around them at the trade deadline. Everyone is sort of back on the Vegas bus. You know, they got Hannafin, they got Hurdle, they did the LTIR loophole, yada yada. You know,
yeah.
So everyone is sort of on this Vegas hate bandwagon, but it's sort of weird because their hatred comes from acknowledging that the team has made significant improvements by getting Hannafin and Hurdle. I think the thing that everyone's overlooking is their goaltending. Thompson and Hill have been extremely suspect through these last few months. I mean, ever since Hill got hurt, he has not been nearly the same goalie he was when the season started, and they started like 12, 13, whatever, and 0.
Right.
He's been nothing but an average goaltender. It's sort of the Binnington effect, where he won that Stanley Cup and he was all high on everything and signed that big contract, and then he's been nothing but an average goaltender up until this season. So Hill's been pretty average. Logan Thompson's been hot and cold. Nothing special of late. So I think that's very overlooked. So I think the Oilers, they're a really good team. Like they have quietly made a significant improvements the last couple of years, adding Ekholm on the blue line in particular. I think they're going to take this. I think they can beat Vegas. I think it's going to be Edmonton in 7.
Whew, I don't know. It's tough. It's crazy to me that one of these teams will be out in the first round. It's just crazy. I mean, this is more of like, to me, like a second or third round matchup than a first round matchup. There's just a lot of good teams this year. So
I mean, Vegas is similar to last year. They went in with that long-term IR. Stone came
every
back
year,
into witching,
every year they've been in the league.
Yeah, Stone came back into came back into witching hour. Eichel was not in his full bloom, and the goaltending all year was tough. Yeah, but it wasn't. He was on and off all year. He didn't hit his prime with the whole defensive thing until near the playoffs. And the goaltending was suspect all year. They had 5 goalies, I think, last year.
Yeah,
4 or 5 goalies. So, I mean, maybe they just have that attitude. Let's get in, and we'll make it happen. So it's a tough thing. They seem to have the mental fortitude if they learned from last year. So
I think the hard part with Vegas this time around is obviously last year they did the LTIR thing, but they were working Stone back in. I worry that this time these guys haven't played together much, especially Hurdle. There's a little bit of a chemistry factor here. These are 2 teams with goalies I don't trust on either side. I'm not a big Stuart Skinner guy. The Oilers have worked around some of that stuff well, but I don't know. I feel like when the Oilers get in these series, they're not as good at the grinding it out, getting tough when they have to kind of aspects of it. I'd probably lean Edmonton, but I don't know. It's just this one's probably the most intriguing matchup if it happens. I mean, if the Oilers get the Kings, I feel like they feel like they hit the jackpot.
Yeah, I agree, but I don't know. I haven't picked this one yet, but Mikey's got Edmonton in 7.
Well, that's a really good point about adding people. I had that in the notes there. When you add guys in that significant of a role that play that many minutes and that many important minutes, special teams minutes, there's an adjustment period for sure. And with Hurdle coming back off LTIR, he has been just sort of a godsend for Vegas and at the faceoff dot. He had 19 faceoff wins the other night. Vegas hasn't been great at the dot this year, so he will immediately help in that capacity. But in a lot of instances, it's really hard to adjust to significant changes to your high-powered offensive threats and positions and special teams. So that is a great point, and that's something that I think will have a huge impact.
It's a lot like the Rangers last year trying to figure out how to use Kane and Tarasenko and the guys they had the whole time to begin with. It's a deployment issue.
We'll see. We'll see.
Absolutely.
We'll see. I mean, look, Vegas is tough. They're defending Stanley Cup champions until they're eliminated, and Edmonton has a history of choking. So I think it's a little bold to pick Edmonton. I do agree. My brain wants to say that, but I haven't chosen the series yet. But anyway, before we wrap,
Edmonton's a lot like Toronto. Excuse me.
Yeah.
The back end to me is suspect with the goaltender.
Yep. I think they added
true.
a lot with Adam Henrique in particular. He's a good defensive center. His numbers weren't great in Anaheim because he wasn't necessarily playing with the most mature and seasoned players, but he's a very good defensive player, and I think he'll be a huge boost to Edmonton in that capacity.
Yeah, so, all right, Mikey, Oilers in 7 is your pick. If you guys want to compete against us in the bracket challenge, once the bracket's set, we'll all make our picks. You can do so because Mikey 150 actually set up a bracket challenge. So where can they access that? Where can the fans go for that, Mikey?
It's on the NHL bracket challenge. If you just type that into Google, it should be the first thing that pops up.
So it's the app or the website, right?
Yeah, app or the website. Yeah, it's called the Rangers Ed Podcast League. and you can just DM any of us on any of the platforms, and we'll send you over the password, and you can hop right in, make your bracket predictions. And I think Little Ed's got some stuff to give away for the winners.
Yeah, so the first place winner is going to get one of these playoff brackets behind me.
Bring
few
it
people
closer.
have
I can't really
ordered-
see it. Or make yourself
few
bigger on the
people-
screen.
I'm not going to try to do that right now. So here's the playoff bracket. It's a magnetic whiteboard, and every bracket comes with all 32 teams' magnetic logos, so you can follow along with the playoffs. You could choose that, or you could choose one of my wood plaques. Do I have one of those around here? I got my Lundqvist one right here. So you could choose one of the wood plaques instead if you don't want the playoff bracket. So a wood plaque of your choice, or the playoff bracket for first place. We're going to give away one of our recent Rempy Rides at Dawn shirts. I just threw the logo up. So we recently received a ton of orders for those shirts heading into the playoffs. So the second place winner will get a free Rempy Rides at Dawn t-shirt and a Rangers Ed koozie. And then finally, last but not least, the third place winner will have a little fan package of koozies, coasters, some stickers. So definitely join the league. DM
Free to
us,
enter too.
Yeah, free to enter, 100% free to enter. Join the league, DM one of us, or email us if you don't have social media, and get the password from us. And yeah, more the merrier in the league, and we're looking forward to competing with you guys. Coach Ed's got a question.
First of all, one of you guys is going to help me sign on to that tomorrow, or whatever. But secondly, does the playoff bracket magnetic board come with the new team next year? You got to update.
K Biscuit 92 just asked that. Unfortunately, all I have is Coyotes logos. So
Well, you're going to have to mail out the next one next year.
Yeah, if you win the board next year, I'll make the Utah logo. I'm sure it's
Looks like it's going to be the Utah Blizzard from what I saw. Did you guys see that?
Really?
I'd see that.
They
So
I don't mind that.
we got the Blizzard versus the Avalanche. That's
Yeah, so the
Interesting.
applications were filed with the Patent and Trademark Office for the following names: Utah Blizzard, Utah Venom, Utah Fury, Utah HC, and Utah Hockey Club.
Blizzard.
I like Utah Venom. I also saw Utah Yeti was like a rumor or like
They
a
better
fan
not do
idea. I
Utah
guess.
Hockey Club. This isn't MLS. So
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
if they do that,
They're probably just trademarking that now, just in case they don't decide on a name by the time the season starts or something.
right, like the Washington football team.
Yeah.
They had that for a year.
Blog. There. I do have a segment in Around the Rink coming out tomorrow amongst the playoff preview on the Coyote situation as well. If you guys did not see Todd Walsh's sign off on Bally Sports Arizona, check it out. It was emotionally gripping for even if you're not a Coyotes fan. It was worth
Yeah,
a lot.
I saw it. It was nice.
Yeah. Well, join the bracket challenge. Make sure in order to win, they need to be following us on social media, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Subscribe to YouTube. Follow Rangers Ed Podcast on social media. Rangers Ed 150 on Twitter, and at the Broadway Breakdown Sports. Right, Nikki? On
Yes,
Instagram.
That is correct.
Yeah,
I just
so
put
follow,
everything up
follow
on-
those, enter to win for free, and win the Little Ed's Workshop gold mine. What if I win? Do I get all that stuff?
Not all of it. It's first place, second place, third place. Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
Do I get all of that stuff?
I'm going for the win.
How much
Yeah.
more stuff do you need? Look behind you. You don't need any more stuff.
You sound like my wife now.
That's hilarious.
It's still being recorded. All right.
Yes,
On that
Cousin
note-
Ed, if you win, you can choose one of the prizes.
No,
Who's
no.
making that noise? Stop rumbling papers.
If I win, I'm going to donate it to Gaza because he's just been hilarious during this whole episode.
Yeah.
So,
Where does he come up with all these nicknames? I love it.
the
He
candle
does it. He
is-
does it. Yeah, I saw Jeff from Mind Your Fucking Business was in here a little while ago, but yeah, that's Gaza's thing on their show. He just throws in the random names and stuff. It's hilarious.
Well, thanks for joining us, fans. Mikey 150, thanks for joining us. Nikki, thanks for joining us. Make sure you check out Nikki's blog, subscribe to it, get updates via email. I get mine every day. It lets me know when he drops a new blog. They're really good write-ups on New York sports at the Broadway Breakdown Sports on Instagram. And follow Mikey 150 for his hot takes at Rangers Ed 150. Just ignore his Bruins takes, like Pavel Zacha's the number one center, things like that. Ignore that. But the rest of the league, he's on point.
He said it.
Rest of the league, he's on point. So follow him there. And just get ready for game 1 Sunday at 3:00, Rangers Capitals. And look for us to go live after the games. And if you can't join us live, you'll be able to listen or watch the next day or whatever when we post it to YouTube or Spotify, Apple, all that stuff. So make sure you follow.
Thank you so much, fans, for all the support in the chat. We got a good turnout on our first playoff preview live episode. And yeah, like Cousin Ed said, we're going to be doing this right here after every playoff game. I mean, Coach Ed and I might be on the Long Island Railroad doing it. Cousin Ed might be in Washington, D.C. at one point doing it. So we'll see what happens. But we're definitely going to hop on and give you guys the content. And, let's go Rangers.
Yeah, let's go. And, Ryan, I got this hat, We Bleed Blue. Check them out for the Rangers apparel. No free ads, but he asked where I got the hat.
We're going to be making our own hat soon, Ryan, so don't worry about that.
No, I do like this hat. It's a nice touch, and the logo is nice on it. They do a good job. So check it out there, see if they have any. But,
Oscar makes their hats now, actually.
Does he really?
Well, not all of them, but they give him some overflow work.
Well, there you go. If Oscar makes it, you know it's good quality because Oscar's the man.
Way to go, Oscar.
Just want to say as well, guys, there'll be some game day content on the Broadway Breakdown Instagram. I will be at game 1. That was the first game I got in my playoff package, so keep an eye out for some live stuff or videos, goals as well. So we'll get all the content that we can out. Be at Playoff Palooza 2 on Saturday.
Yeah, Coach Ed and I will be at game 2 as of now.
Very good.
I might be at game 4, so we got almost everything covered here.
Nice.
Let's go.
I'll be at no games. 0.
Well, they don't play in Newfoundland, so
No more.
Yeah.
ECHL's gone. Newfoundland Growlers, RIP.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everybody. And looking forward to the playoffs. Let's go Rangers.
Let's go
Let's
Rangers.
go
Love
Rangers.
you guys. Good
Go
job.
Bruins.
Love you guys.
He goes, go Bruins. It sounds so awful.
Great job, guys.
Way to go. Good job, boys.
Yeah, really good. Really good episode. Wait, are we still live?
Nah, I ended. Oh,